Hi and welcome to Tech for Everyone. For those who don't know us, we're a tech gadget and app review channel. We're fairly new to video production and thought we'd review kit and ideas we come into contact along the way. We also want to share the things we learn and have you guys share the things you know with us too. Today's video is a little different. The video you're watching now is being shot with the new auto cue that I made. We've just returned from filming on the job, which required someone presenting to a camera. I'd give him something to say, he would present it. However, when he forgets or has a few facts and figures to remember, then it can stop, be time consuming, and in the end result in him reading from a scrap of paper, which doesn't look too good. Now, I've seen a video online by Indie Mogul where Griffin had to make an auto cue for fairly low cost, and I thought, well, we'll give that a go. So I decided not to follow the recipe exactly as described by Griffin, as I wanted to see how easy it would be to make it on the fly with no real plan, without ordering specific bits of kit. I decided to make it on a day I was visiting my parents, and they only have a local B&Q nearby, so I had to buy bits from there, and that was the only place I could go really. I wanted to spend about £30, and I started with the knowledge that I wanted to make a box and have an angled bit of glass in the centre. I also knew from watching other efforts that I didn't want to use chunky bits of wood, or because that would make it heavy, and so wanted to make it from hardboard with a frame. For those who don't know, an auto cue works by reflecting words onto an angled bit of glass and shooting through the glass. The camera, positioned close to the glass, doesn't show the words, but the presenter, looking from the other side, can see the words reflected onto the glass. So I went down to B&Q. I had a look around and I found a bit of hardboard for, I think it was about £9, that would make all four sides of my box. So I was going to make four sides of the box. And I found, I think it was a 3 metre length of batten that would provide the framework really for it on the inside. I then went to a local shop to buy a picture frame. It's just like a cheap shop, Wilkinson's I believe it was. They sell picture frames in different shapes and sizes, and I took my iPad along because this is what I was going to use to reflect the words onto the auto cue. The iPad I measured up to the frame, found a frame which was a bit larger than the iPad. I wanted to make sure I had enough room that the iPad could sit comfortably underneath and I had a big enough screen. I also didn't want to rule out the possibility that we may use a laptop. We've got a small 13-inch laptop, at some point to reflect onto the screen, so I didn't want to constrict it and make it too small. So let's just have a look at the construction. You can see here I positioned the picture frame on the wood and used the iPad as a bit of a guide, so I knew how much space I wanted either side, and I roughly marked it then at a 45-degree angle. I left a space either side just so that I've got a bit of shade around the frame, so the frame sits pretty much in the middle of the box. I then positioned the battens on to measure those out, and I cut those at a 45-degree with a mitre saw. Now, you might want to measure that out with a protractor if you've got a protractor, or better yet a set square to get your 45-degree angle. But I cut my bits of wood with a mitre saw because I had one available, and then that set my 45-degree angle really. So you can see here I position the battens on the side of the bit of wood to create a frame for it to sit on, and cut out the side with a jigsaw. Obviously be careful if you're using any power tools. And then fix the battens to the side of the frame, to the side of the box, and just check that all sat nicely at 45 degrees. You can see that I'm having a little trouble with my angles. So the frame will sit against there. Now I originally decided to fix the frame to the sides of the bits of to the sides of the box, and use that as the rigid part inside, but it became clear that I wouldn't be able to get the glass out if I did that. So I then made put another batten. You can see there the other side of the frame, and that means that I can slide the frame in and out and makes it replaceable. There's a strengthening batten just across the top there which you have to remove to take the frame out. But there's the completed box. I gave it a little spray to make it black. Okay, so here's the completed unit. Built pretty much in half a day, I'd say, maybe a full day if you count some mods that I made the other day, which I'll show you in a second. It looks a little bit rough and ready, and pretty homemade, but I think done again we could do this a lot better, a lot neater. I've learned a few lessons doing it, and you know, there you go. We have talked about covering it in sticky back plastic just to make it look a little bit better, and tartan it up again at some point. But you can see I've got the iPad in the front there, which is prompting the words. That will get reflected on the glass, which you can't see very well at the moment, but I'll show you that in a second. So the mods I made the other day was that I wanted the camera to sit as part of the unit. I had it on a tripod at first test, and I wanted to integrate it into there. So I've put a bracket on the back and butchered a tripod mount, and we've put the camera on the tripod mount, and that just sits the lens inside the unit closer to the glass. We can put a cover over the back, and that blocks out the light, which ensures that your reflection on the front is pretty clear. And on the bottom I screwed a Manfrotto tripod head to the base, so I replaced the base with a larger bit of MDF and then affixed a tripod mount to the bottom of that, and that now sits on a Manfrotto tripod. So the whole unit now works as one, mounted on a tripod with a camera in it, put a cloth over the back, and it's great, it's good to go. Things I would do again, I made the mistake of attaching the frame to the sides of the box, which meant I couldn't get things out, and I thought if I wanted to replace it, you want to be able to slide the frame in and out. So I would do that from the beginning, which would give me an overall neater job inside, because that meant me having to unstick and unscrew things. And I would probably use a thicker bit of wood. The idea behind using hardboard and batten was to keep it light, but in retrospect that doesn't matter as much to me as say some of the finishing here, where it could, you know, if it was a slightly, maybe a 9 or 12mm bit of wood, you just got a nice stiffer finish to the whole thing, and take a bit more time and care over it if you want a bit of a neater job. But overall, like I said, this thing works. So with the cloth over the back, you can see the words are easily reflected and easily legible. With better glass, more reflective glass, maybe it's worth talking to a glass expert. You can probably get a better reflection and see the words better, but I'm quite happy with that. Sat at a reasonable distance from the camera, it also doesn't really look like you're reading from the words, so that's a win in my book. If you're looking to oh sorry, it's worth noting as well that the app that we used on the iPad is called Promptware Plus, and it's a great little app. It gives you quite a few options. We'll probably review it at some point. Okay, that's me signing off. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech for Everyone. If you just have a search on Twitter, I'm sure you'll find us. I'll put it up on the screen now. And we'll see you in the next video.